Good day, everyone. Before I start my report, let me introduce to you myself. My name is Jillian Calyupas Dungog from Bed 1, Block 2, Lives and Works of Rizal. Rizal in London. After visiting the United States, Rizal lived in London from May 1888 to March 1889. He chose the English city to be his new home for three reasons. First, to improve his knowledge for the English language. Second, to study and annotate Morga's successos de las Islas Filipinas. And third, London was a safe place for him to carry his fight against Spanish tyranny. Rizal lives in London. On May 25, 1888, Rizal went to London. He stayed as a guest at the home of Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor, an exile of Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor. By the end of May, he found a modest boarding place at number 37 Chalcot Crescent, Primrose Hill. Annotating Murga's book. The greatest achievement of Rizal in London was the annotating of Murga's book, Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, which was published in Mexico 1609. British Museum. Rizal spent many days in the reading room of the British Museum, peering over the page of that book and laboriously reading the old history of the Philippines. The short visit to Paris and Spain. Early in September 1888, Rizal visited Paris for a week in order to search for more historical Bibliothèque Nationale. On December 11, 1888, Rizal went to Madrid and Barcelona, Spain. For the first time, Rizal met Marcelo del Pilar and Mariano Ponce, the titans of propaganda movements. Rizal's first article in La Solidaridad. It was published on March 25, 1889, 6 days after he left London for Paris. Rizal's first article in La Solidaridad was entitled Los Agricultores Filipino, the Filipino Farmers. Writings in London. Rizal received news on Fray Rodriguez and a batted attack on his Nole. In defense, he wrote a pamphlet entitled La Vision del Fray Rodriguez, The Vision of Fray Rodriguez, which was published in Barcelona under his pen name Dimas Alang. In La Vision del Fray Rodriguez, he demonstrated two things: my profound knowledge of religion and my biting satire. In London, Rizal wrote the famous Letter to the Young Women of Malolos. In Tagalog, he penned it upon the request of Marcelo del Pilar to praise the young ladies of Malolos for their courage to establish a school where they could learn Spanish despite opposition of Father Felipe Garcia, Spanish parish priest of Malolos. Lives and Work in London. Life in London. Went to London May 25, 1888. Rizal stayed as a guest at Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor home. He then became a boarder at the Beckett's by the end of May. Was called a Pearl of Man, Una Perla di Hombre, by Dr. Hinhold Roast. Played cricket, and according to Dr. Ferdinand Blumentritt, the noted Philippinologist and Rizal's friend, the Spanish historical Dr. Antonio Morga, wrote Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, which was published in Mexico in 1609. Many scholars considered this history of the Philippines a much better and honest description of the condition in the country pertaining to the Spanish conquest. Good and bad news from home. Bad news. Persecution of the Filipino patriots who signed in the anti-friar petition of 1888. Persecution of Calamba-Tenan's furious attacks on Rizal by Senator Salamanca and Vida in the Spanish Cortes and by disingenuous Wenceslao y Ritana and Quiquap Pablo Ficed. In Spanish newspaper, Rizal brother-in-law Manuel Hidalgo was exiled in Bohol. Good and bad news from home. Good news. The only good news was Rib Father Vicente Garcia defense of the newly. Content of the letter: we young Filipinos are trying to make over a nation and must not halt on their onward march, but from time to time turn their gaze upon their elders. They are anxious to learn of the Philippines' past, which they need to understand in order to plan intelligently for the future. They want to know all of that. Annotating Morga's book, His Greatest Achievement in London, Dr. Antonio de Morga met Marcelo H. del Pilar and Mariano Ponce. He first met Mariano Ponce and Marcelo H. del Pilar started to be involved officially in propaganda movements. Rizal became leader of Filipino in Europe, choosing to be honorary president, wrote a letter of thanks addressed to the members of Association La Solidaridad on January 28, 1889. Rizal and the Solidaridad paper, Graciano Lopez Haina founded a La Solidaridad on February 15, 1889 at Barcelona. Romance with Gertrude Bicket. Gertrude Bicket, buxom English girl with brown hair, blue eyes, and pink cheeks, eldest of the three sisters. Although he did not pursue his love for Gertrude because he was still in a relationship with Leonor Rivera at the time and would not want to be unfaithful. His article: First, Specimen of Tagalog Folklore, and 2, Eastern Fables as requested contribution from Rizal in Dr. Rose Trubner's record. Rizal was forced to leave London because Gertrude's love for him was torn serious. He could not take advantage of her affection and she would not be happy because Rizal was in love with Leonor Rivera. Before leaving London, he carved several fine sculpture works. First, Prometheus Band. Second, The Triumph of Death Over Life. Third, The Triumph of Science Over Dream. In the middle of March 1889, Rizal departed for Paris. He was sad as he crossed the English Channel, for he had many beautiful memories of London.